right, y'all, welcome to another episode of the Rock Report. Man, if y'all still tuning in, I just want to thank y'all for everybody who's been keeping up. Here we are, season 2, episode 11. This one I want to dedicate especially to a new subscriber of mine. His name is Fernando. Reached out to me earlier today, and man, he asked a very, very genuine question. He wanted to know if I would just do a podcast on the topic or the concept of finding positive influences in negative environments. And you know, for me personally, growing up, I could always tell a lot about people by just the type of questions that they ask. Also, that's another thing Bob Proctor mentioned. He mentioned that, you know, certain people can advertise their own ignorance by questions that they ask, but vice versa. Certain people can also advertise their intelligence by asking certain types of questions. So just the fact that he asked me a question like that, think about the fact somebody asking you, how do you find positive influences in negative environments? That's deep within itself, but I think it's one we all can relate to. I've personally been there, and I just hope for anybody else watching that want to know that this video give you value. So, two things. It's really twofold. It's based off the type of environment, because certain negative environments you absolutely have no control over. Like, for instance, you know, let's say I'm an immigrant. I came over here from another country. Now I'm staying with my mom in an apartment. Trying to figure life out and shit. That's a situation where I'm just kind of like handicapped. I'm like, fuck, it's just me and my mom. You know, maybe, you know, she got like abusive boyfriend or something like that. That's like a scenario to where it'd be challenging if I'm a kid to try to like, get out that environment, because I'm a huge like advocate for just removing yourself completely from negative environments. But like I said, it's twofold, because some of those you have no control over, right? But before I leave that topic of the ones you don't have no control over, here's something I want you to consider. I think it was Earl Nightingale who said that a man can't choose his circumstances, but he can choose his own thoughts. So indirectly, yet surely, he can choose his own circumstances, right? And obviously, this goes back to what you believe. If you believe that thought is the father of all creation, you know from your own personal experience that you have to think about something before you create it or make it real, manifest. You have to think about it first. So with thought being the father of all creation, the first answer is thought, bro. If you want to get out of a negative environment, you have to think your way out of that environment. I remember I was, talking to a homeless guy on the corner. I just literally genuinely asked this man, like, yo, can you explain to me, why are you out here? And, he told me he was addicted to drugs. He wished he didn't make certain decisions. And I was like, that's perfectly fine. But do you know that there's been people in your exact scenario who went on to do great things? And 9 times out of 10, it was the way that they was thinking about what they were going to do next. So that's answer number 1, Fernando, man. In certain environments where you just personally feel you don't really have control over it, the negativity that comes in and out, you can think your way out of that environment. Like, as harsh as this sound, I remember I had like a boss who really like got on my nerve at a 9 to 5 I worked at. So I was just putting the laws of attraction into practice, and every day I would walk in just grateful, genuinely grateful that he was gone. I didn't have to deal with him anymore, even though he was standing right there. But I was practicing the laws of this universe. Lo and behold, bro, maybe a month or 2 in, this man was long gone. They was shipping him off to a whole new facility, a new department, everything. He was completely out of my life. Coincidence? Maybe, but thought is the father of all creation. Number 2, I would like to add, growing up in my household, it was a lot of negativity going around. One thing that kept me ultra positive and just kind of helped me rise above what I was experiencing was books. So I found some good books that really empowered my mental, and I would definitely recommend that. I always talk about books. You don't want to overdo it, but if you haven't had that phase, and I'm talking post high school, like, because it's one thing that school make you read books and do reports, but it's another thing to pick up a book yourself post high school and decide to read it and get something out of it. So I would totally recommend that. As a matter of fact, what I'll do in the description of this video, I'll just put my top 5 books. Something I recommend that you go ahead and dive right into, something that's just really just going to change the whole narrative of the way that you think. Because you're going to get to a certain place where I'm at right now where even if I was in a negative environment, I would see it as nothing but opportunity. Even when I was at a party around like, a lot of negative people, family members, I used that as an opportunity to get a podcast. So, I put all my cousins on blast, like, yo, when you gonna start your channel? When you gonna start putting out content? What about you? And I was pretty much exposing everybody, but I was just kind of like taking advantage of the negativity and making a show out of it. You know what I mean? So now I want to kind of shift to environments that you actually do have control over. So let's say that you're staying with a roommate. You're old enough, you're of age, and you're staying with a roommate, and you and this person don't quite see eye to eye. You don't kind of like their lifestyle or the way that they live in, or you work at a certain job, with just like negative people all around you, negative coworkers and negative peers. Those are like certain scenarios that you absolutely, have control over. So I think the answer for like a scenario like that is actually is quite obvious. Just kind of like remove yourself from that environment. Maybe that's not always easy. Like I'm trying to think of a scenario where you won't be able to just easily remove yourself. Let's say, you 17, 18, you graduated from high school, your parents sent you off to college, so now you stand in the dorm room around a lot of negativity. That's a different type of scenario, but like if there's an option to remove yourself from that negative environment, then you really have to dig deep and ask yourself, why are you sticking around in the first place? Like, is it somebody's opinion that you care about, that you value more than anything? So you feel like you have to stay in this scenario or situation. I know a lot of people in relationships that they don't even want to be in because, I don't know, maybe it's the fear of being lonely, but whatever your fear is, so why you can't leave that negative situation and it's ultimately bringing you down, ask yourself realistically, like, what's the worst that can happen if you remove yourself from that negative environment? And if it's more upside than downside, then, man, make that leap, bro. Make that jump, man. But, if you fall in that first category or, in a scenario where you just can't quite, control the negativity that comes in and out, man, go ahead and dive into some books. I promise you, bro. I'm always going to send people towards The Science of Getting Rich. For me, The Science of Getting Rich, the fact that it was a 90-page book, and it just changed the way that I approach my entire existence. As I'm sitting here having this conversation, I'm still trying to fucking figure out what was it in that book. How did he pull it off, bro? Like, he fucking flipped something, like something changed up here, and it's like, fuck. Like, whatever he did for me, I just want to do for the rest of the world, for the rest of my life. And this man is gone. Like, this man was gone 100 fucking years ago, but he left behind content that's still digging deep into people. And like, I don't know what else I have to say to get you to pick up the fucking book and read it and check it out and at least see what I came across. But I'm so glad that it made its way into my world. Like I said, thought is the father of all creation. I was already, trying to think of a better lifestyle for myself after learning about the laws of attraction, getting all this information from Bob Proctor, learning what I learned from Les Brown, learning what I learned from Eric Thomas. The icing on the cake was The Science of Getting Rich. It solidified and guaranteed like my success. So like I can call it now, and I know a lot of people that I grew up around, or even that I still interact with on a day-to-day basis, they can't quite call out their success. They don't have that confidence in themselves. It's just not in there, and that's what Wallace did with The Science of Getting Rich. He instilled it in me. And so repetition too, like, you can't just read the book one time or like try to get a better routine one time and think that now that's, it's just going to kind of catch on. I noticed that the subconscious mind and the brain loves repetition. So when you repeat the process, it just kind of makes it easier. So I read that book, man, no exaggeration. I read that book 100, 200 times, like somewhere in between there, if not more. Like, I shit you not. So if I wasn't reading a book, I was listening to the audio version, which also counts as, going through the book. So I say start there, man. And look, I guarantee you, if that don't do it, which I promise it will, if you really crystallize the concepts that he's teaching and understand that you can think your way out of any circumstances and create a better life for yourself, whatever environment you in right now, you're really not gonna even give two fucks about like, you're not gonna find yourself in that environment for much longer anyway. So, and if you ever have like any more questions, like feel free to hit me up or reach out anytime. Like that's what I'm here for. Like I want to try to like help people unlock that, because I don't know what it is that most individuals are missing. But I talked about it in the podcast previously. Like I said, the thing that flipped my mindset was just literature. So once you evolve past what you need to know, it's like it's just levels to life. So like once you evolve past one level, then there's the next level that you're trying to get to. So I'm at the phase in my life where like I've put down the books. You know, I've stopped investing in the courses. I'm busy executing. Like I'm recording. Like I'm putting out content. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to like impact my community every single day. So like I'm just on a different level. But if you haven't reached the level where I'm at yet, like, you know, peak confidence in yourself enough to go ahead and just put yourself out here to the world and kind of build something for yourself. If you're not there yet, bro, you young as fuck, you have nothing but time on your side. So sit back, dive into the books that you know you need to dive into to go ahead and shift everything up here, because this is where the shift starts. So that way you can get out here and start killing it, man. I promise. Like once you get to the other side, you're gonna love it, dude. Like when I wake up, like I'm so fucking grateful and like just fucking pumped that I have a fucking cell phone and I can just communicate with the world, like my world, you know what I'm saying? That people who want to be in it or just be a part of it and just want to support what's going on. Like it's such a privilege, bro. So if you haven't realized that like 2020 is the biggest opportunity that we will probably ever have as human beings and have had as human beings, then man, I just highly encourage you to wake up. Wake up, bro. Use these resources around you. You got YouTube. So like, you know, in my household, when everybody was asleep, I would turn on YouTube, you know, 2 and 3 in the morning, like listening to Eric Thomas or, you know, Bob Proctor and those guys. Just beating it into my brain, and something eventually shifted. So at the end of the day, man, it really don't matter what environment that you're in. Like you can get, like if I had this mindset, I'm pretty sure I could have survived slavery. Knowing what I know now, like I know it's difficult to think about being in conditions like that, but knowing what I know now, like there's no condition in my life that can defeat me. Like I've told the closest people that I love, like no matter what happens to me, I can lose everything. Like I can lose a fucking eyeball, I can lose both legs. I don't give a fuck, because as long as I can communicate, I can still do what I was sent here to do. What I made my purpose. I made impact in the world on a positive level, my purpose. So I'm able to do that every single day at a high level. Like, what the fuck do I got to complain about? Even if I'm in a negative environment, I know how to think my way out of that environment. Like, I got everything I need, bro. So, I do hope this one was helpful, man. And like I said, if you ever have any more questions, bro, feel free to hit me up. If anybody else is watching that just kind of like needed that, I hope you got something from it. But as always, y'all, catch y'all on the next one.